you all had a great summer. I just came back from Spain and I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I've already shared with my Patreons the painting of the other boy, together with some tips, so if you want to check it out, the link is in the description box. But I thought that I would share here the second one and show you how I'm sketching on very cheap paper with oil pastels. As usual, I like to start by swatching or sampling some of the colors to have at least some of them clear. I particularly need to swatch all the time my browns, my darkest, maybe because I confuse them or something, but I have to do the same when I'm using pastels or color pencils. The browns always need to be swatched. Most of the other colors I already knew which ones I was gonna use, so I didn't have to bother with those. The paper that I've used for both of these portraits is just the printing paper that my parents had, which is, I don't know, your regular cheap printing paper. And it's also quite thin, only 80 GSM, if I'm not mistaken, but I think that's correct. I get asked a lot about different paper choices because I always use pastel mat, which is not exactly affordable, especially for sketches or everyday doodling. And so I just thought that I could simply try what I had on hand, and this is what I always have. It's basically everywhere. And it has been one of those staples. When I used to paint many years ago with markers, like the alcohol markers, out of all the papers that I tried, my favorite was always this. It didn't bleed much, it looked nice, yes it transferred on the back, but it didn't matter. It's just really great. And I'm very happy to say that it works just as well for oil pastel, at least for sketching. Granted that I can only confirm that with neo pastels, but I'm pretty sure that it will be the same for all others, or so I think. But at least for neo pastels in Mungyo, because they are kind of similar in consistency, I'm sure it works really well. It doesn't work well with very satin-like papers like the moleskin, but I don't think that's the most common type of paper. So if you're looking for a cheap paper for sketching, I think this is unbeatable. I haven't had a lot of time for painting, honestly, this last month. So the only ones that I've tried are neo pastels because it's what I had with me there, and since then I just so far I haven't had that much time yet. I'm catching on. I just finished recording my oil pastel light fastness test results that should come hopefully soon. I still have to edit it, but I have to say that I got surprised, both for good and for bad kinda, but mostly for good. So stay tuned for that if you are interested. Anyway, about painting on this, I'm using a very layering technique. So at first I didn't know how thick I wanted to make it. I usually, when I paint with oil pastels, I know that I'm eventually gonna end up with a pretty thick coat that covers the whole grain of the paper, but since my idea was to sketch, I wasn't super sure about the look that I wanted yet, so I was working on very thin layers. You can see the texture of the paper for most of it, like all the time really. And it's surprising how terrible it looks until, I don't know, halfway through or even further. It looked horrible, especially this one. It looked so bad that I thought that there was no way I could save it, but somehow I did. I think it looks cute, like it's a sketch, it's not supposed to be a final piece of any kind. But yeah, if you start sketching with this and it looks incredibly ugly, just keep pushing and hope for the best. It was looking so bad that I don't even know how I was able to keep going, but somehow it ended up looking okay, I think. The paints were softer because of how warm it was, so I was blending with my fingers very easily. Despite these paints being normally a bit harder, they were very easy to blend. And I didn't want to overwork it, I didn't want it to be overly blended, but in some areas and for faces and babies' faces, I think it looks better. So I try to find a balance, blending some areas and leaving others with texture just for interest and because I didn't want it to take me forever. And that's the other thing. These paintings took me very little. Like, I know they are sketches, but they took very little in comparison. Maybe it was an hour or an hour and something. But, like, I don't know. I don't normally count how long it takes me, but I really noticed that it didn't take me long at all. Also, I had to rush because I didn't have the time. We were moving around constantly. I actually didn't have more time, so I had to squeeze whatever I had into this. But maybe some time constraints are also a good thing sometimes. If you would like me to make a video showing you my favorite colors for skin tones or the colors that I would pick, which are my most used and which ones I would recommend to paint portraits in the way that I do. I know some others like to incorporate many different colors and a lot more variation maybe, or they just have a different style, but if you like to know my favorites and my recommendations, just let me know. I think I could put together some palettes. I'm not planning my videos that much, but I hope you find it useful or interesting, or if nothing else, at least that you know that you don't need to spend a fortune on materials. You can use very affordable paper and a few of these crayons and you're good to go. Anyway, thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye!